Hello everybody and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle and to my latest episode of New Music Weekly, the show where I give you guys the top prog news headlines for the week, introduce you guys to some new prog singles, and give you updates on what's happening here on the channel on Nathan on Shuffle. It's July 24th, 2026. I do this show every other week now and bring together what I think is most exciting in the world of prog, both trying to bring in some of the classic prog artists and news with some of the newer prog that's coming out today, some of the newer bands that are releasing music. So a good smattering of stuff in the world of progressive rock and related genres that I hope you guys have been enjoying if you watch the channel. So first, I like to get into the new releases for the last couple weeks. On July 17th, we had the release of Haken's In a Fever Dream EP, which I did a review for. Haken's one of my favorite bands of all time. I feel like their new EP has gotten some mixed results, but I feel like people are starting to lean a little bit more positive from what I've seen, but there's some people who don't really care for the new direction that the band's going in, kind of this more alternative metal, newer, like Sleep Token, newer Leprous-esque sound. But I've been enjoying it. The more I listen to the EP, the more I like it. It still has the Haken DNA in there, and I think it has some really cool sonic quality to it. And I think it needs to be heard as a whole piece rather than just the singles. So check it out if you haven't yet. Hit the new Haken EP, or check out my review if you want more details about it. Protest the Hero also released their record Within, a fairly short record, progressive metalcore. A little bit on the heavier end for my taste, but I know a lot of my contemporaries have been really loving this record. It's a lot of fun, a lot of different kind of musical directions going on, always exciting. But sometimes the more harsher type of vocals aren't really my thing on this record, but if you enjoy prog metal and kind of the more zanier approach to it, maybe a more emo side, I think this could be up your alley. It's really interesting. Also, Neal Morse came out with a solo record, a Darkness and Light Acoustic, more of a singer-songwriter, folky album, nothing in the lane of like his typical, full-blown prog stuff. I believe this is only really available on his own streaming service, Waterfall, as well as ordering the CD from his website, obviously. But he's been doing some solo tour dates and been playing some of these songs out there live. So really pleasant, nice singer-songwriter stuff from Neal. Always a huge fan of what he's doing. This week, on July 24th, we had the release of North Sea Echoes, How to Cast a Shadow. This is the duo of Ray Alder and Jim Matheos of Fate's Warning fame, doing a little bit more of laid back, more ambient kind of rock music. Nothing too heavy, nothing too over the top, but pleasant to listen to. This is their second record. REZN has their album Cycles in the Infinite Dream, doomy, more heavier prog. I've cursory listened to this, and it's really interesting, kind of, along the lines of like Elder, kind of that like stoner, kind of doomy prog stuff, but really well done, really well crafted. Punch Brothers is a personal band that I enjoy, more in the bluegrass, progressive bluegrass side. An instrumental record called The Unsung Adventures of Punch Brothers came out, which I really enjoy. So check that out if you're interested in more of the bluegrass direction, kind of blending the lines between bluegrass, folk, and classical, and those kinds of fields. But a really clever record. Jordsjø came out with the record Pestkrønikene. Sorry for butchering the pronunciation. A folk symphonic prog band, one of the many bands from Norway and the Scandinavian area, and has that kind of classic retro feel. Definitely worth checking out if you're a classic prog fan. All right, into the proper albums here, into the proper news items, I should say. First, we've got news about Rick Wakeman announcing a new album here, Return to the Red Planet. He had a very acclaimed record in 2020 called The Red Planet, and this is the return to that project, which is really exciting. That's one of my favorite solo records, really, in his whole catalog. I think it's really fun, really vibrant, and interesting. This will be released on the Madfish label on October 16th. And Rick Wakeman says, once I started looking at the new data and photographs, I realized there was an entirely new album waiting to be written. There was simply too much more to say about Mars, musically and spiritually, not to return. So a concept record of sorts. I'm guessing it's mostly instrumental, as that was what the first Red Planet album was. It says the album is performed by Wakeman's English rock ensemble, featuring bassist Lee Pomeroy, guitarist Dave Colquhoun, drummer Adam Faulkner, and vocalist Molly Marriott, daughter of legendary Steve Marriott. The album was mastered by renowned engineer Simon Hayworth. So this should be a really cool album to check out. I'm actually really excited about this. There's several different versions, CD Blu-ray edition, including a CD of the studio album, plus Blu-ray disc featuring Dolby Atmos, 5.1 surround, and high-res stereo mixes, and the making of documentary. Gatefold 2 LP edition as well, pressed on transparent orange vinyl, featuring an immersive 3D pop-up of Wakeman's spacecraft landed on Mars. So a cool package, a lot of fun things going on there, so I'll be very curious to hear it. It'll definitely be something I'll talk about on the channel. I just saw this news just barely before recording this. Peter Gabriel, Tony Banks, and Mike Rutherford reunite for a remakes and remastered deluxe 5-disc reissue of their debut record. So this is the record From Genesis to Revelation that came out in 1969, being reissued through Cherry Red on October 9th. Along with guitarist Anthony Phillips. The three of them have overseen the new reissue, which will be available as a deluxe 5-disc CD Blu-ray box set, a double vinyl edition, and a remix and remastered 2 CD edition. And the reissue is featuring a new stereo mix by Stephen W. Taylor, focusing on the band's performance and places less emphasis on the orchestral elements that featured on the original release. So, very interesting to me. I would say that their debut record is probably maybe my least favorite in their discography, that and like Calling All Stations. So it's not really my favorite record, so it's interesting they're putting so much investment into this, in this big expanded package, but you know, maybe they'll bring some life into these like older tracks and bring a lot of new material that people haven't seen before. There's some previously unreleased and newly mixed rare recordings and such on this big deluxe package. So check it out. It should be kind of interesting to see kind of the history of the band and where they formed from, even if it's kind of in their primitive stages before they really burst onto the prog scene with Nursery Crime. Well, with Trespass and then Nursery Crime, obviously. So this should be interesting. The double vinyl edition also includes a bonus 12-inch EP featuring new mixes of A Winter's Tale, One-Eyed Hound, Image Blown Out, and Visions of Angels, the latter previously unreleased. So should be really cool to check that out and to revisit the debut record from Genesis. Item number 3, Pure Reason Revolution announced a new album, Terrifying Angels, and released a single. The single's called Spin Like Fire. It's on my Prog singles list. If you check the description, there's a YouTube playlist that's linked that you can check out all the singles and music that I talk about on these episodes. A great catch-all of like what the greatest songs and newer prog music is. So if you want to check out some recommendations or some newer stuff, that's a good place to go. Pure Reason Revolution is one of my favorite modern prog bands, kind of on the more darker alternative side of the equation, but I love their previous record. 2024 is Coming Up to Consciousness, which a little bit gentler, you know, talked about sorrow and you know, darker themes. But the new one seems like it's more dark and heavy and, you know, has some savage riffs, ominous soundscapes, and thrashing grungy layers. But with those really transcendent harmony vocals that they're known for. They have female and male vocals that kind of blend and are beautiful together. So the first track, Spin Like Fire, is a very heavy, kind of aggressive track, which kind of spells the direction for this record. The album's available, of course, for pre-order as well if you would like, available as limited CD digipack and gatefold LP and a digital album. The album features bass contributions from Marius Duda from Lunatic Soul and Christopher Gildenlow, while mixing duties are once again handled by Bruce Sword of Pineapple Thief. So should be a really cool record. I'm sure I'll talk about it. I'm hotly anticipating that one because I love the band and their previous records, so can't wait for this one. John Mitchell announces the final Lonely Robot album called An Ending. John Mitchell is kind of ever present in the modern prog scene. He's been part of so many numerous projects: Arena, Frost, It Bites, now Asia. Lonely Robot is kind of his personal, like, solo kind of venture in this very specific world that he's inhabiting, this kind of astronaut in space concept records. And so this is kind of the conclusion of that series of records. So I've really loved all those records. Really great songwriting, just really beautiful music. Not like super over the top proggy, but just really well crafted and beautifully done. And I love John Mitchell's vocals and his guitar work. It's just really gorgeous what he puts together. So this is coming out on September 11th, 2026 on CD and double vinyl. It's available for pre-order as well. You can pre-order it at Lonely Robot's website, as well as, I'm sure, various prog vendors of choice as well. On the record, we've got John Mitchell, of course, doing vocals, guitars, bass guitars, keyboards. Craig Blundell doing the drum work here. There's also some additional guitar by Jez Fielder. So should be a really cool record to look forward to. I'm a big fan of John Mitchell's work. So that's something on my hotly anticipated albums list. Also, Mastodon is releasing a new record called Marrow Deep, coming out August 28th. They're more of a heavier, darker, doomier prog metal. Heavy psych, whatever you want to call it. Have some harsher leaning vocals, but, I really like their record Crack the Sky, which I think is a classic prog metal record. They put out a single. If you want to check it out on the singles list, Snakes for Dinner is the name of the track. So this record is also available for pre-order as well, if you so desire. And, it sounds like the band are excited about it. It's their follow-up to 2021's Hushed and Grim, and their first full-length release as a 5-piece, welcoming guitarist Nick Johnston and keyboardist Joa Nogueira into the lineup. So it should be really cool to check this one out. Sometimes a little bit veering on the heavier end of the spectrum for my personal taste, but I'm always curious what they're doing and what their new records sound like. Big Train announced a digital deluxe edition of Woodcut featuring demos and 2 acoustic live tracks. This is coming out on August 7th and is available for pre-order. I believe it's on Bandcamp if you want to check it out there. And it's interesting. They're releasing like this big demo of the Woodcut album, basically Alberto Bravin's kind of original conception of it before the band started actually recording it. So should be interesting. Also, a live take on Chimera is in the mix here as well. They did a couple of acoustic sets in the UK that they're capturing here with a couple of cool tracks. And so it should be fun to revisit the record, hear some of that demo material to see how this all originated and developed into the Woodcut record. So I thought that was cool that they're releasing a digital version, a digital deluxe version of the record. Singer Jess Holland has parted ways with Solstice. Solstice is a UK prog band that I've been really enjoying their recent records. And Jess Holland has been a big part of that. Her voice on those records is really fantastic. But unfortunately, she's parting ways to kind of spend more time on her teaching career and her life outside of the band. They released a statement about it. Andy Glass, who's kind of the main man behind Solstice. And so they're going to forge ahead, it seems. She was the 7th singer of Solstice. They have many different singers, so there's a couple other female vocalists, I believe, that are still part of the band, that are going to work with the band moving forward. But she had such a beautiful voice and was such an important, important piece of the modern era of the band. So, sad to be missing her. But we'll see what happens in their near future. New Pattern Seeking Animals single Traveler on the Wrong Road Home. This album is coming out on GEP Records August 21st. Their 6th record, Grimalkin. I think I've talked about this on a New Music Weekly show in the past, but I wasn't sure if I mentioned the single in particular. But I'm excited for the release of the new record. It's a cool band, kind of forming from the ashes of, not the ashes because they're not dead, but from various members of Spock's Beard, coming together to do a slightly different sort of project. Maybe a little bit more accessible and melodic, but, some quirky different instrumental things going on as well. And, exploring different musical avenues. So a really cool, interesting project. And I'm excited for their 6th record. And finally, I want to talk about Space Proggers Osric Tentacles, sharing details for their new album, Harmonic Mind. They've released a video trailer. The album's coming out through the Kscope label on September 18th. They've been around for a long time, so their 17th studio record, named after the geometric structure and harmonic nature of existence. The album was recorded at the band's various home studios as it gradually took shape across Scotland, Devon, and Glastonbury. So should be a cool record if you're a fan of Ozric Tentacles. And, that's basically what I've got for you guys on the Prog News list. As for the channel itself, been doing my summer series, I like to call it, of my 40 favorite albums of all time without any caveats, with all my biases in place. This week will be the final episode of that, the top 10. But check out all the episodes if you haven't yet. It's been a lot of fun going through that throughout the month of July. I did a review of the new Haken EP and A Fever Dream as well, if you want to check out my review. I really enjoy it, and it's only been getting better as I listen more to it. So I thought I'd give my thoughts on that. Beyond that, I'm probably going to take a little bit of a break in August. There's a couple family type things going on. There's my birthday coming up in August and a bunch of different things that are probably going to take me away from the channel. And I think it's just nice to have a break every so often. I'll probably come on to do New Music Weekly, occasionally, in a couple of episodes throughout August. But I'm planning to do a roundup of all the albums that I've been enjoying at the end of August. Everything basically that has come out in July and August. So that should be something to look forward to. But hopefully you guys are excited about that top 10 episode of albums. I'm really excited to share it with you, and hopefully you guys stick around on the channel and enjoy what you're doing. So thank you guys, enjoy the music, and I'll hopefully catch you in a future episode. Bye everybody!